What's something you pass on to people?
The easiest tidbit is like when you're going into the sprint, especially if you have a lead out guy in front of you, let a tiny little gap go.
What's a good tidbit for people trying to get better at sprinting? And I know you're going to say if you have a lead out, let's talk more like cat fours, cat threes who probably don't even have teammates. They just need to people look awkward when they first start sprinting. And I think that's why people don't practice it. They're like, this feels weird. It's like, well, yeah, because you're not used to doing it. But what are some tips that you would give, like basic getting your sprint start, like sprint 101, we'll say?
Right. All right. Let's go like straight 101. Tightening the shoes. Like it sounds kind of dumb, but it actually makes you feel a little bit more secure. In the drops. If you're not comfortable, like especially cat fours, you'll see it quite a bit. If when they stand up, they hover over the saddle. They don't, like the bike doesn't feel like, it looks like they're standing up just for the sake of standing up. They don't know, like they're not understanding like the transfer from pedal to pedal. Moving the bottle weight a little bit more forward and just like going out, not putting any pressure. Like the best way to do it is probably go into like a really big gear, like 50 RPM. So you're on a flat road, but really big gear. And you just stand up in the drops. Don't worry about pushing any harder and just get used to letting the bike rock underneath you. And because you're at 50 RPM, you can really feel like the rotate of your body over your bike. Once you get that down, then you can start looking at putting more power, start feeling the flow a bit better, because I think that's the biggest thing.
That's interesting. What sort of changes have you seen in your own sprint or your own technique over the past few years? And maybe, well, we'll leave it at that for right now.
I rock my bike slightly more. I still sprint with a pretty upright style, like as far as like bike rock goes, because I came from the track. Lots of track sprinters don't rock their bike as much as road sprinters do.
Isn't that better because you're wasting less energy and it's more full power into the pedals? Or somebody brought this up, actually. We had a little ride camp here and they said they're focusing less on this and more of like you're still pulling as you push, but it's like directing that power into the bike. Is that a thing, or are we making that up?
I don't know. People have been wildly successful doing both things. Yeah. Now, world-class athletes will thrive with imperfect technique. So they are not, you don't look at a world-class athlete with your flaw and say, well, they do it, so I'm fine. Because that is obviously not the way to do it. Now, if rocking the bike was so bad, anybody who rocked the bike would never win a bike race, as far as like professional bikers.
Right.
But I really don't think that should be your dead focus. Now, if you're rocking the bike for the sake of rocking the bike, hey, maybe think about that. If you're rocking the bike and putting no force through your arms, like you're not taking advantage of having the handlebars to torque on, then maybe that's something to look at. But I don't want to make a blanket statement saying you're rocking your bike, stop doing that. I know that when I fatigue, I start shifting to glute and even low back dependence. When it goes to like a 22 second sprint, what this does is it brings my upper body up. This is a problem. This is something I've been focusing on to fix. Keep that left arm body down.
That's really interesting that you're that dialed in that you can like feel I think glutes are a funny muscle that a lot of people don't even know like what glute activation feels like. So to have that and did you notice yourself that you were raising up, or did your coach or teammate point that out, or how did you like key into that?
My coach pointed it out, and it's pretty clear in photos. It's pretty clear in photos from the line. It's not like I'm still doing well in sprints. Like I'm not like a thing of plywood, but my upper body is still a little bit little bit more up than I would prefer, you know?
Yeah.
When you're fighting for centimeters, it's important to look
Yeah.
at. So,
So along with that, what else are you trying to improve on most this upcoming off season for next year?
um, that's to be fair, the sprint is something that I'm looking more to just kind of maintain and stabilize. I'll bring it up another few hundred or like 100 watts or so just through gym work. But my main focus in off season has been um, like a aerobic and anaerobic, like just build the aerobic capacity to the point where I can train. Like, here's another hot take. A lot of people aren't even fit enough to train properly.
Go in on that. What do you mean by that?
So like if you lack the aerobic capacity to do a 3 hour ride, for example, like so that's the wrong way to put it. If you lack the fitness to do a 3 to 4 hour ride, you definitely lack the aerobic capacity to do like, so if you can't do a 3 to 4 hour ride, your 20 minute is, as a man, your 20 minute is probably sub 200, maybe 220, for example. I don't know, like I'm generalizing because the weight is a big thing.
Right.
Somebody's 50 kilos, their 20 minute being 220 is pretty good. Um, if you're at that point doing 20 minutes and doing intervals, if that's something you enjoy, do it. But you probably get plenty of benefit from just going out and enjoying riding your bike,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, this keeps going until you're like, once you get fit enough that you can, like, it gets to the point where you're fit enough that you can't go max. Like I remember when I was like a junior and I could go so deep in so many training sessions, because I just lacked the capacity to hurt myself properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You
Okay.
couldn't go
And
hard enough to actually crush yourself.
exactly. And it's not just the fact that I was junior, because I remember like local masters being like, oh, I remember when I was young, you know, I would recover so fast. But I think it was more that I was just like, I'm going out and I'm doing 330 watts for 10 minutes. Like, of course I'm not hurting myself. Whereas like now, and I'm sure in 2 years' time I'll look back and go, fuck, I could barely hurt myself, you know? But like now, if I go out and I proper smash myself, I'm like, hey coach, I need to take like 2, maybe 3 days off. And he'll be like, you're an idiot. Like, why did you go that hard?
Yeah.
You know? Like you just you're like the adaptations you'll get from doing a single hard day and then forcing yourself to take 2 or 3 days off or 2 or 3 days easy because
Mm-hmm.
you did too much damage. There's nowhere near the adaptations you'll get from doing repeated easier days back to back.
Mm-hmm. Consistency is king.
Yeah.
So when you say building aerobic capacity, does your brain go towards the doing more endurance, or are you thinking of your VO2 max intervals, or is that both together?
I won't do so much VO2 max intervals um in January or in like November, December, January.
Mhm.
January, it'll depend on my race season. There's a possibility I'll be doing a hell of a lot of VO2 max intervals in January. But November for sure, it'll be a lot of like high zone 2
Mhm.
rides, 250 to 280 when I'm riding, like
Yeah.
if I'm, let's say I'm in Andorra or I'm riding in the mountains, the ride might only be 210 average, but I've descended for an hour and a half of that, right?
Yeah.
Um, and a lot more tempo threshold type work.
Mm. When you're going to build the anaerobic capacity, what types of workouts do you like for that? Like just 60-second bangers or shorter, longer, a mixture, or do you have like time and zone that you go after? How do you look at those?
A mixture. Yeah, I do a lot of 30-second maxes in preseason, but that more goes towards building the sprint. And the 30-second maxes are 30 seconds to 1 minute is the area where I can do the most damage to myself. So doing them in November, December is okay because I'm not looking for too much quality in like my zone 2 rides. So I can get away with doing a really hard anaerobic session, like almost ATP, like using up full stores. And then yeah, I might broken for my zone 2 ride, but okay, I can only do 240 instead of 260. It's like, oh, whatever, you know, like that's okay. And those 30-second 1 minute might be like, I'll start the season doing like 4 by 30 seconds with maximum recovery, like 20 minutes. And then I might build up to like 6 by 1 minutes, and those are two different training,
Yeah.
but moving up like 6 to 8 by efforts.